Hey everybody, how you doing? Welcome to the Nurture It Show, the show that is focused on helping you build a really successful pipeline, both of candidates, clients, and ultimately fees. Today we've got a fantastic guest. I always say that because all our guests are fantastic, but we've got Katrina, founder of 3 Years Media. Katrina's been in the recruiting space for 9 years, and all she's done in that time is marketing. And she spent her time, whether it be on social media, whether it be on Twitter, Facebook, email, basically out there attracting candidates and helping get to the helping people apply. The first question I want to ask Katrina is firstly to say hello.
Hi.
And the second thing is that someone's already chipped in to say you've only got 2 ears, so where's the third ear?
Yeah, no, so the company is actually named after my dogs. So I have 2 dogs, actually. They have 4 ears, but my lab has 1 ear that stands straight up. And
Right,
so when you look at my dogs, they have 3 ears. And for a long time, I would joke that we as a group were 3 Ears Media. And then I found out the URL was available. So I thought, what the heck? Take care of it.
That's good. It's a good rapport builder. It's a good rapport builder. So I guess we're here today to help recruiters get more people answer their emails.
Exactly.
Back in the day when I started in recruitment, it was all about the telephone. You know, it was about, could you call early? Could you call late? Could you call with a mobile? Call from a withheld number? And whilst you can still use the telephone, email is the primary mechanism with which recruiters reach out to their candidates and their clients on a day-to-day basis. And to that end, where I'm from a sales background, which is sort of how do you get people on the phone and engage them, getting people to answer emails is really marketing. And so recruiters need to be as much a marketeer in today's market as a salesperson, as well as a technician, and all those type of things. So in your mind, when you think about a recruiter being a marketeer, what skill sets and mindset do you think they need to have?
So I don't think it's a blanket statement. A lot of people like to say, recruiting is marketing. And I don't know that that's true. The reason I say that is because there are some elements of marketing that apply to recruiting. So I just want that to be my first blanket statement. All marketing does not equal good recruiting ideas, but some do. So something that marketers do really well that recruiters don't is that they take the time to really get to know the personality and the background of people before they ever send out a message. So they identify the problem, right? They create content around the problem. Then they really nurture that relationship before they ask for the sale, as opposed to recruiters who go right for the home run. They don't bunt. They don't, hit for baseball fans on the line, but they go straight for the home run. I go straight for the sale, which is, do you want this job? And it creates a friction that doesn't create trust. It doesn't create a relationship, and it inevitably makes them a little less successful.
Okay, but I guess I'm a recruiter, so like I need that candidate for that job today. If I don't get that CV over to the client, either the client's unhappy, my line manager's unhappy. So what are some of the? So I guess patience is one of the skill sets. But what are some of the other things that a recruiter can do to balance? What are some of the things that they can do that are a step towards being like a marketeer? But I can't wait 3 months to nurture that relationship.
Right. So I really investigate a human before I write an email. So I know I have to go. So inevitably, I know I don't have time to build that relationship, but I can build the relationship in 1 email. And here's how. So the very first thing that I go and do before I even, they are humans. So this is a human-human relationship. So just like I would read a dating profile before I wrote an email to someone I was interested in, I go and search this person's name. I go find them and I find 1 unique thing, just 1 thing that I can ask them a question about. If it's a piece of code and so it's not, I think you're great because it's, I noticed you. And that plays into a psychological element that makes somebody feel special.
Right. Okay. And so would that be things like, I noticed that you've been at the same company for 10 years, you might be ready for a change?
No. I noticed the code. This actually happened to me not even 2 weeks ago. I noticed the code in your LinkedIn profile. What is it for? And because I actually can read code. And so it didn't quite make sense. Like it was a coding language. It was on a black screen. Code. I knew it was code, but I didn't recognize. And he wrote a code for love.
Ah, very cool.
And right. And he actually said to me, you know what's crazy? No one has ever asked me about that.
Nice. So you're saying that trying to find something that connects with them as a human being first, rather than their job, is what the first thing you've got to try and do.
Exactly. That is more powerful than any you'll get 100% response rate template you'll ever find, is just that one piece.
Right. Okay. And so, and where would people go to find those type of things? I guess you've got, I mean, do I need to do, so probably better question, do I need to do that with everyone I reach out to?
It depends on the role. If you're having trouble filling the role, you probably need to spend more time learning who the human is. If you have what I like to call pants on fire recruiting, when you're doing pants on fire recruiting, that's probably because you haven't been able to fill that role in a reasonable amount of time, and you need to be more selective. From my perspective, I would rather have 4 highly engaged people to present than 15 who fit the bill, but I might not have that connection with them.
Okay. So, and one of the things that we said we were going to talk about is personas. And I'm from a sales background as a recruiter, so I was never really engaged in personas because I met so many of my candidates. They were humans to me. And so about 5 years ago, I learned about marketeers using personas, which I think, given most recruiters don't meet candidates the way they used to anymore, is really important for a recruiter to be able to understand who they're reaching out to. So do you want to explain what a persona is and how that can help recruiters engage more of the people that they approach?
Absolutely. And I think this taps in actually to the question that just came in from Peter too. Love Peter. Happy to see you, Peter. He said, it's about the conversation, not the job. And that's what personas are about. It's about fueling the conversation. So personas can work for you both on the candidate side and selling. So if you're an agency recruiter selling this into customers, use this model. So a persona is a profile of the type of person that you're looking for. It's more than a generic, engineers do this, they like this. Your persona has a name. It has a personality. It goes deeper. It talks about where they spend time online, how they like to be spoken to, even phrases they use most often.
Okay.
Right? And so that becomes really powerful as both a training tool and obviously how you tailor your messages further down the pipeline. And again, works for sales, works for candidates, because at every single stop that you know how to talk to this person. You feel more well-informed about the conversation. And I actually have a sample persona I can send you too for everyone on the line.
That'd be fantastic, and I'm happy to share that with everyone that's watching. So, how many personas would a recruiter have? You wouldn't do a persona for every role you recruit for, I guess.
Not necessarily, but it would be for maybe a new department or a new role, right? So I imagine most of you have specialties and niches.
Okay.
That's pretty traditional in this space. So for your specialty, I think it's an interesting idea to have a department persona and then to take that and slightly manipulate it, if you can, per role. Because that little bit of research up front is going to improve your numbers all the way down the pipeline. Trust me, I've tested this a million different ways.
Yeah. And then so does that mean, for instance, if I'm recruiting for a developer for a startup, say, that startup developer is a different persona than a developer that maybe works in a larger corporate? because they obviously like a slightly more structured environment. It's less flexible. So the idea being is you're picking the nuances outside of just the job and actually thinking about how might that person be different.
You got it. Exactly. So it's working backwards. So to put it in a context that most of you have probably used a million times, when you think about the story you're going to tell when you get them on the phone, oh, this is a great job. You're going to have a great commute. It's right near the train station, very quiet office. You're going to work with a really smart team. We've all given that speech before, right? That backs into your persona. Those two work together.
Right. Okay.
Because all those things that you say, instead of just saying them because they mean something to the company, you know how to tailor it so it means something to them.
Right.
Oh, I saw you were at XYZ company. You know, I actually used to work there. And did you enjoy the fill in the blank, the hierarchy, the process, etc.? You know, they have that exact same thing here.
Right. Okay.
Right. So it gives you that connection point.
So what you're saying is someone, I guess, informally recruiters do this. So when I used to speak to a candidate, I'd be able to go, oh, you worked at this company, you probably knew Bob, or you use this system, this company uses that system. What you're saying is, if you're recruiting similar roles regularly for a similar type of company, creating those profiles almost shortcuts that long learning process that an experienced recruiter would have to go through. And you create something that you can give to a junior recruiter and go, we're recruiting for this company. Here's the profile of person that fits. These are the companies where they might come from locally. And that gives them the head start.
Exactly. This translates both in a personal way, in the like emotional and that kind of relationship building, but it also translates directly into your search. So the pieces that you use to build your search string, they're part of the persona.
Okay.
You know, and so this is technical. It's every part of your search, from the human element to the technical actual discovery.
Cool. And I guess Williams asked a question, which is it possible you could overbuild rapport or maybe spend too much time preparing? And what I like about personas is that it gives you a little bit of preparation, but it allows you to still make that approach, but make the effort to make it tailored, where finding that unique identifier out for every person might not be possible when I maybe got to reach out to 20 or 30 people in the day.
But so for that example, let's say I have to reach out to 30 people who fit this profile, and I cringe saying this. I cannot send one email at a time, which I actually don't believe. I think if you really want to fill the role, like on my volume roles, I still try to do the one by one, even if it's only slightly tailored. But okay, so overbuilding rapport. Instead of asking a specific question about their profile, try to sub-segment your bigger groups. So if I have 30 people, I want to find some similarities between those 30 people, so I can maybe get it down to 5 groups of 6 or 3 groups of 10. And the reason I want to do that is because I want to find some kind of similarity so I can at least add some level of customization.
Yeah.
Because the chances you're going to get a response on a hi, first name. We currently have a role open in location for a job title, right? It's probably not going to happen.
Yeah.
And so I sub-segment down as far as I can with one unique thing that ties all of those people together, and that's my opener.
Yeah, and I think I'm a massive believer. I tried a tool, Linked Helper, recently to help with my LinkedIn connections. And aside from the fact that I sent a message out going "Dear first name" because I put the wrong bracket in, I just didn't get any response. Like, it was just, people can see right through it. And I think what I tend to do is I go for an email which is maybe 80% standard with some spaces in it, and then I take that time to go, hey, this is what, and I do that. I noticed you live in Bristol, which is where I live, or you live in Boulder, or I noticed you went to this school, or you worked at this company before, and something that just basically says, I've made a little bit of an effort to know something about you over and above your company name.
Yeah. And another little trick that I actually learned from Kathy at the last SourceCon was not to include the job title in that email.
Right. Okay.
So his logic is that if you do not include a job title is something that is very easy for a person to say yes or no to. So they see, oh, are you an automation manager? I could say no to that job simply because I'm a director, not a manager.
Yeah.
Or there are a million reasons why I could just react no to that job without hearing all the details. And so what he suggests is that you remove the job title altogether so that you really can make the most of the actual value proposition of the job and the person, not the job title, because that doesn't really mean so much.
Yeah, well, the thing is, a job title is a name, but there's so much below it. And that's where, especially when you're recruiting technology individuals, they don't often care about the job title. It's about what technology is it, what version is it, what are they doing with that, what's the stack, and that's where I think what the marketeer does is sort of they sell a bit. I think they sell the sizzle, not the steak. You know, and what the recruiter does is basically go, do you want to buy this steak? Where a marketeer just sort of wafts that smell of freshly frying steak over the internet to try and make, steak, that sounds good. I'd like to,
right. They create a club for meat eaters. They, they do all the things that make you want steak all the time, not just ask you if you want that one steak.
That's why in the UK, there's some coffee shops that deliberately pump out freshly ground coffee smell. Because they want to attract people in. So, exactly. Katrina, one of the challenges when I speak to a lot of people about email is what's the call to action at the end? So the traditional recruiter call to action is, I'd love to tell you more if you're interested, or are you looking for a job? And as they say, it's like walking up to someone in the street and saying, hey, do you want to marry me? Do you want to go on a date? It's pretty full on. So what would your advice be on how to finish off those emails?
It's a great question. It depends on the role. So I like to customize the end with, I want to talk more about fill in the blank, really unique thing that I found about you. Can we talk on Tuesday? Yeah. So versus saying, if you're interested, which is a yes or no question, whether you put a comma or a question mark after it. So I think, so my positioning is that I try to position myself as a student, always. And so whether I'm in a sales interaction or a recruiting interaction or any of it, I say, I want to learn from you. Let's set up time where I can learn about you.
Yeah.
And in that scenario, once I get them on the phone, I can contextualize my expertise and contextualize the opportunity for them versus coming into it and they're like, oh, it's an interview, and the candidate comes to it and you can feel the tension. Those are my least favorite calls. You can just tell they're like,
it's very similar to, I mean, the principles between sales and marketing are similar. I know when I teach sales calls is that the goal of that opening statement is to get yourself another 120 seconds, not to sell your product. And I liken often that initial bit of getting someone's confidence to being confidence when you see a doctor. So the fact that they're a doctor gives you confidence because they've got knowledge, but actually what really gives you confidence in that doctor is whether the first thing they do is want to learn more about you. And so what you've described there is a call to action, which is, hey, I've got something that might be of interest, but I'm not sure. It'd be nice to chat. And so it focuses on wanting to learn more about the individual. And so I like that approach.
And what I found too is that I really do learn stuff during that call. I learn where they hang out online. I learn about their passions, their beliefs, where they think their business should be, where they think they should be, or for clients, their business should be. I learn a lot, whether I get the sale or not, that informs every other call I do after that.
Yeah. And that's part of listening to what you do. And I think I use Amazon a lot in what makes, I think Bill Baldwin a couple of years ago said recruitment companies don't realize it, but they're actually data businesses. The problem is they think they're in the CV sending business. And what Amazon do and all the tech businesses do is they learn from each and every interaction to personalize the next contact more and more. And so that first contact with someone is often about, can I just get one nugget of knowledge? So next time I call or contact, we can just go, last time we spoke, you said X.
Exactly.
And then you evolve that relationship on.
It's the recruiting version of A/B testing, right?
Okay.
We should have that methodology in our mind no matter what we're doing. It should happen when we do calls. It should happen in our emails. It should happen in our LinkedIn profiles. I can't tell you how many recruiting profiles I've looked up on LinkedIn. So these are recruiters, agency or individuals, and their entire LinkedIn is keywords, bulleted. My specialties are bullet, 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 bullet. And you're like, so storytelling, writing, or I don't know, sales are not your strength.
I think that the challenge is, Katrina, I went into recruitment because it was a job that involved lots of talking, not writing, because I'm a closet dyslexic. I've got attention issues, and sort of sometimes I wonder where in the future where all the dyslexics are going to go, because the world's not about voice. It's about
they'll check it for you.
It's about the written word, and I think that's the challenge, is that a lot of businesses spend so much time training people how to talk, but not necessarily write.
Yeah, absolutely. And I tell people who have writing anxiety. My uncle actually is dyslexic, and he came to me and said, "Oh, write my LinkedIn profile," and I was like, "No." I will not. And the reason I say that is because no ideas are original. So I will contextualize my next piece of advice with that. But 2, go find a profile that you really like and borrow liberally.
Yeah.
Edit for your keywords, make it, twist it a little bit, but find one that tells a story, because the next thing people do after you send that email, they look you up. That's a very traditional path for a candidate. And the last thing you want them to see is a bunch of bullets.
Yeah. And part of that is that they want to see more on your profile than just, I'm recruiting for, my friend's recruiting for, Bob's recruiting for. And most recruiters' job feeds are bullet points. And so there's some words that recruiters absolutely love. They love fantastic, perfect, ideal, commercial, right. They love adjectives that mean absolutely nothing. So what's, I know you did a post recently about words that people shouldn't use. So could you just let us know some of the words people shouldn't use in their emails and maybe highlight some of the ones that they should?
Absolutely. So my usual rule of thumb is that if you Google the word or search for it on a job board and it comes up over 1 million times, you might want to rethink. And I know that sounds crazy, but I literally found about 30 of these words and created a little library on 3 Ears Media where you can actually see all of these words laid out and a few subject lines. So if anybody wants, it's 3earsmedia.com.
Cool.
Click on the library. So there's a free library, no email address, no nothing, and you can just click around there. Now, to answer your actual question, the words I personally hate, anything that's not accurate, right? So fantastic. Who on this call right now has described their work as fantastic work? I'll wait for it. No,
I'd like to think I'm fantastic personified, but
I love my job. Right? Like I love the work that I do, but I've never been like, this is a fantastic job. Makes me feel really good. So being fantastic at your job are 2 different things. And so when you start to shove those words in there, like top talent or champion, like you said, you start to make it have less meaning to the human on the other side, specifically in your job descriptions, and it's worse in the email. Yeah. So we need to, again, this is where that persona data is coming in. We need to talk to people the way we think they want to be talked to, in the words how they would describe themselves. And there are great tools now like Textio that'll let you validate that language to say like, yes, this is something they would like, or no, it's not. Or, you know what? We've written a job description that's way too masculine.
Wow. Okay.
Like it has masculine tendencies. It uses words that appeal to men, not women. It can go to that level. And now they actually have a plugin for emails as well.
Well, that's awesome. And I mean, I was going to talk about plugins. I mean, you've got Grammarly, which is like a lifesaver for me. There's also one called Hemingway app.
Yes.
Which will help you with sentence length. So it's much punchier and readier and easier to read and that sort of stuff. So what we really need is a load of recruiters to go, this job sucks. Like the office is a hole, the windows are dirty, the job is really boring, but the people are brilliant.
Exactly. So I'm actually working on a blog post.
This is a shit job.
Yeah. No. So I'm working on a blog post right now that's called No as a Recruitment Marketing Strategy. So I believe that there's an enormous opportunity to really stand out in the world of recruiting by telling someone why they wouldn't be a fit. This is where I got the idea. So I was working with a video company. They're called Skill Scout. And they were working with a CEO who really wanted to add his personal touch to the recruiting process, or to the application process. Let me refine that. And so what would happen is you would go to the job page and you'd see the job. And if you clicked on apply, the next page was an interstitial page. And it was a video of the CEO telling people why not to apply.
Cool.
So they have not entered any information. They have said nothing. They just said they clicked apply. And it was a 2-minute video from the CEO that was like, if you're looking for, international blah, 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 you're at the wrong place. I want hard workers who are looking ahead and blah, blah, blah. And no, but why it matters.
Yeah. And there's two things on that. I mean, when I worked a desk, after the first interview, I made a point of telling the candidate, this is why you're not going to get the job. Tell me how you're going to overcome that. Because we've all heard of FOMO, fear of missing out. And often recruiters are so scared to tell a candidate they might not get it, they never engage that. But when you go, well, they're thinking, even if the client's going, they're amazing, you're like, well, they quite liked you, but they're not sure about this. What would you? And I would actively dig for why people weren't going to get the job. I'd dig for why the candidate wasn't going to take the job. And I'd share the negatives, because that actually engages people in wanting. No one likes losing. That's why eBay is so addictive and it works. So a really good place for people to go if they want to hear about why not to work somewhere is Netflix have got a slide share, which is the Netflix induction slide share. And basically it's got 6 slides that basically goes, don't work here if you think like this. These people don't work out. And that it's fantastic. It's 127 slides, but there's about 7 or 8 in there that are amazing. So
that's awesome.
So which is good. The last thing that we've got one last topic. We've got a couple of minutes. You said you're going to talk about the metrics for measuring the effectiveness of some of the marketing activity or email activity recruiters do. So what metrics should people be thinking about?
Overall, I think, so again, I want to contextualize, right? So if we're talking about candidates, I use the HubSpot sales tool to do this. It's free up to 1 million people, and it will let you log and track every single email you send, which means that you can get your email metrics. It's a quick plugin, really easy to set up, really easy to use. And it'll tell you when they open it. It'll tell you how many times they opened it. A lot of good detail about how your emails are performing. I think that's the bottom line, right? So specifically on outreach, you need to know kind of how that's working. When it comes to sales, and so for the agency folks on the line who are selling into clients, what my ultimate goal would be for you is that your website starts to function as a lead source. So the context on that is that you can't do all the selling always. But if you're doing sales right, people are coming back via other channels.
Yeah.
And so I want to see a variety of sources, i.e. going on my Google Analytics, looking at page sources, seeing how many different ones there are, but also on the other piece, being able to see that actual leads are coming through the funnel on my site.
Yeah. And that's where I think I'm noticing a lot more recruitment companies now having a sign up for our newsletter type thing, where actually traditionally recruitment companies is like, do you want to buy as a candidate? Do you want to buy as a client? There was no halfway house of, hey, do you just want to be in touch, but not quite sure you want to register or give us a job yet. So I think that's recruiters have, the challenge is recruitment is a business that's driven by such short-term success drivers that sometimes thinking about something that might come off in 3 months might as well be 5 years' time.
And I would actually say for those of you doing a newsletter to stop. Nobody actually wants more email. So how I would approach that is I would actually do an ebook that talks about recruiting in your niche.
Okay.
Written by you, sell it on Amazon so you can create another recurring pipeline of revenue.
Okay.
And then give it away for free on your website and tell people $18.99 value. You can buy it on Amazon or subscribe.
Right, okay.
And when they subscribe, I would do like a little pain points or some kind of fun question. Because, okay, so I do this for my stuff. I have a little book, free here, blah, blah, blah. And I have the fun question. So when they click the fun question, when I call, because I call, which freaks people out, but I do it, I say, I'm calling today to talk about fill in the blank fun question.
Yeah.
And it just sets a different context. It means I can come in as the student, not the sales guy.
Yeah. Okay. No, that's good. We could do a whole show on that sort of that lead capture conversion piece. So what you're saying
that's
though
what
is
I do for clients.
A white paper or an ebook is much more likely to engage your client base or candidate base than a sort of sign up for our newsletter type.
Okay, which expert are you going to trust? An expert with a newsletter or an expert with a book?
Yeah, okay. Yeah.
It's a trust element. Everything I do, so I think that's the fundamental of this whole conversation that you and I are having today is how do I make people trust me more?
Okay.
How do I build trust? Because if you can do that in 5 seconds, you can have anything you want.
Great. Well, that sounds that's a fantastic end to the show, Katrina. So we find you by going to 3yearsmedia.com.
Yeah.
It's all about building pipeline of candidates
Exactly.
come to you, and that's for companies that are hiring direct, and I guess agencies that want help in that side of things as well. So at Katrina Kibben on Twitter. And thank you very much. You've been a fantastic guest. I really appreciate it. And hopefully our paths will cross again soon. Everybody, you can watch the replay. Don't forget, Nurture It. It's all about a pipeline productivity, helping you manage your leads and your vacancies. So thanks a lot. And please subscribe on YouTube or on the website. Take care. Goodbye.